Who is still a serious fox demon these days? Introduction. My name is Chen Yuan, and after crossing to the Earth Immortal Realm, I became a male young fox of the Imperial Beast Sect. Yes, male young foxes. According to the tradition of the Earth Immortal Realm, it is destined not to break through the fate of the nine-tailed heavenly fox. So I decided to be a less serious fox demon. This book is also known as, The Days When I Was Not a Family Immortal, I Am Not an Ordinary Wild Animal God, and, my transmission technique is a bit strange. Chapter 1. Immortal Master of the Hu Family. You are listening at Novel Full. Audio. At midnight, dark clouds cover the top. The moonlight is covered, and the earth is pitch black. In the darkness, the door of a wing room in the mansion opened and a 4 or 5-year-old child walked out. The child's eyes were tightly closed, with a smile on his face and even giggling in his mouth, as if playing with an invisible playmate. This eerie scene made the woman hiding beside her extremely frightened, and instinctively grabbed the sleeve of the man beside her. Master. The man reached out to cover the woman's mouth and frowned as he looked at the boy next to him, but dared not speak. Beside them stood a burly young man. The young man's eyes were faintly emitting blue light as he watched the child walk into the wooden house of the mansion, listening to the laughter gradually dissipate. The mansion became quiet, and the dark clouds dispersed at this moment. The bright white moonlight falls on the earth, everything is so coincidental. Seeing that the voice of her own child had disappeared and the immortal master invited by the heavy reward remained indifferent, the woman could no longer resist crying and cursing. Master, look! Wei Er has been taken away by ghosts, and he is still stuck here like a piece of wood. If I had known this, I might have taken Wei Er back to my mother's house in Qingzhou. Shut up! The man with a wealthy face let out a low shout and then looked at the young man. Immortal Master, are you looking at this? Mr. Wang, don't worry, wait and see. In the midst of his words, the boy's calloused hands pinched the formula and lightly tapped between the eyebrows of the wealthy man and woman. The man and woman only felt a chill between their eyebrows, and a string of blue footprints appeared on the ground in front of them. This footprint is the size of a child, walking from the wing room to the firewood room, but it seems a bit messy, as if walking towards the firewood room while circling around someone. Even though Wang Quanran had been floating in the commercial sea for many years, he finally couldn't hold his breath and asked in a voice. Immortal Master, are these the footprints of the ghost that abducted Wei Er? Not bad, this ghost entered your child's dream, luring him to the woodshed and following him throughout the journey. Speaking of which, the robust young man glanced at the woman and said with a smile on his face. If your child was stopped or disturbed just now, the little ghost will attack your child in a dream, ranging from scaring away all 3 souls and turning into a dementia child, to death in severe cases. Ah! The woman let out a scream, her eyes turning white and she fainted. Wang Quanran quickly helped his wife and instructed the maid to escort her back to her room. Only then did he respectfully say to the young man, I hope the Immortal Master can take action to rescue my family's Wei Er. Afterwards, in addition to the 3-leaf fox ginseng, there is also a chasing soul ginseng plant presented. While saying these words, Wang Quanran's heart was also dripping with blood. Soul-chasing ginseng claims that even those who have entered the gates of ghosts can bring their souls back, which is truly a life-saving elixir. He has been running a pharmaceutical business for many years and only then did he collect this one. But now, for the sake of Wei Er, he also has to take it out. The robust young man nodded with a smile and walked towards the wooden house, saying, Mr. Wang loves his son very much. Let's take a look together. Upon hearing this, Wang Quanran quickly followed the boy and entered the firewood shed together. However, there were no children in the firewood shed, and those blue footprints disappeared in the middle of the shed. As rumored, it disappeared without a trace. The young man, lost in thought, took out the incense from the bag he was carrying with him, placed it in 5 directions and lit it. He pinched an inverted lotus seal and drank softly. 5 directions and 5 ghosts, come and see me quickly. In an instant, there was a strong wind in the firewood room. Wang Quan ran, who had already opened his eyes, watched 5 shadows emerge, so frightened that he couldn't help but hold his breath. Because he knows 2 of these 5 shadows. A former servant of his family fell from the eaves while picking up tiles and died, his head deformed. The other is the concubine of the neighboring Zhou family, who is said to have slipped and drowned in the lake. However, now that her tongue is stuck out, it is obvious that she was hanged or strangled. At this moment, these 5 shadows greedily stared at the sturdy young man and said in a stern tone, "What is the mission of the immortal?" The boy took out an oiled paper packet from the bag and threw it in the middle, saying, "Where did the child who just came in go?" 5 shadows rushed towards the oiled paper bag, but soon discovered that it was filled with pig offal and fat. The 5 ghosts glared at the young man, who was about to erupt. The young man's reversed lotus seal turned into a diamond seal, and he glared at the 5 ghosts, scolding them. "After eating my blood and food, do you dare to rebel? Do you call these rotten meat and stinky water blood food? Are you fooling ghosts with this?" The 5 ghosts cursed in their hearts, but as they looked at the young man holding the diamond seal in his hand and the emerging ghost covenant, they couldn't help but let out a fierce howl of unwillingness. The cold and ghostly aura permeated the firewood room, causing Wang Quan next to him to tremble with fear. Qingshi Yizhuang. In the end, the 5 ghosts left an address and dissipated as a dark wind. Stepping on the green fragrance, the young man turned around and walked towards the outside of the woodshed. "Let's go, Mr. Wang. Hurry up and your young master may suffer a bit if it's too late." Upon hearing the voice of the young man, Wang Quan ran quickly followed and whispered, asking, "Immortal Master, those just now? Don't be afraid, they are just some mediocre little ghosts. When their names are called loudly, they think they're a top-quality tribute, which is why they come at a glance." The young man casually said something and got out of the mansion, boarding the carriage prepared by the Wang family in advance. Wang Quan ran followed behind and said to the servant guarding outside the door before getting on the car, "Qingshi Yizhuang, bring more people together." After speaking, he sat down at the driver's seat and personally drove the carriage, saying anxiously, "Immortal Master, it is said that there were ghosts in Yizhuang earlier, and many people died, isn't it? Perhaps there is a connection." The young man responded, but his brow quietly furrowed. Yizhuang is usually used for mortuary purposes, and is haunted rather than zombies. It is likely that someone or a fierce ghost is manipulating it from behind. In the late night, the carriage quickly rushed towards the Yizhuang, followed by a large group of people. Among these people, besides the parents who also abducted their children, there are also many officials. Several children are missing in the city, and the government is also troubled by this matter. Now the Wang family has invited the immortal master of the Hu family, and they also want to see if they can rescue the missing child. Therefore, they specially allow the Wang family's carriage to travel late at night. Shaoqing, the carriage stopped in front of Yizhuang. Wang Quan ran and the young man got off the carriage and pushed the door in. Zhaoshuyuan.com. The officials also dismounted quickly and followed behind step by step. There is no night watchman in the Yizhuang, and the Changming lamp has not been lit. I still feel the bright moonlight outside, but now it appears a bit pale. Wang Quanran swallowed his saliva and looked around, but there was no trace of his own child. With a hint of anxiety in his fear, he said, "Immortal Master." As soon as he spoke, he was interrupted by the boy waving his hand. At this moment, Wang Quanran realized that there was a clear blue light in the boy's eyes, and a faint shadow of a fox appeared on his body. Is this the fox fairy worshipped by the Hu family? Wang Quanran was grand and dared not breathe, looking in surprise at the phantom on the young man's body. But seeing the fox's phantom claws on its chest, it pinched a spell with both hands and drank softly. 5 Thunder Law, Landmine Law, come on. Boom. Thunder struck on the flat ground of the Wushuang area, and a yellow arc ran wildly on the ground, causing sparks to splatter inside the Wushuang area. Many dry corpses that had been parked for many years ignited a large fire. Well behaved, this is a real immortal, much stronger than those previous Taoist monks. Who said last time that the immortals of the Hu family were all scammers? Perhaps it's just a deception, but it's rumored that the people of the Hu family are the best at it. You're right, go up and blow it up to see if it's a cover-up. Well, forget it, but he hasn't even made such a big move and the ghost hasn't come out. Don't you really think it's like a cover-up? The officials communicated in low voices, and Wang Quanran was also stunned. After a moment, the earth-yellow arc dissipated. In the center of the Wushuang, a cave entrance quietly emerged, resembling a ghostly cave devouring people under the burning flames of the zombies. Wait here, otherwise you won't blame me for causing harm to your life. Chapter 2. Masking Eyes. You are listening at novelfull.audio. The young man said something to Wang Quanran and others, and walked towards the entrance of the cave as he pleased. But before he could get close, a red robe rose from the cave. Where did you come from, fox? Why can you use the 5 thunder dharma? The mournful sound echoed within the Wushuang, accompanied by a rapid drop in temperature. Everyone outside the door was filled with fear, and the timid person had even wet their pants. Coming out. Coming out. The population of the government murmured and retreated repeatedly. There was a disaster in the Wushuang in the west of the city, and many people died at that time. When the government investigated this matter back then, they naturally knew that there were evil spirits involved. It's just that none of the Taoists and mages who have been invited over the years have been able to catch the fierce ghost, and in the end, it can only be left unresolved. Who would have thought that today, the immortal master of the Hu family made a move and actually blew up that fierce ghost? So it turns out to be a fierce ghost that has only become the climate. What about the children you brought here? The young man from the Hu family spoke loudly, fearless of the fierce red-clothed ghost with ghostly aura. The disciple was asked back, and the red-clothed ghost was a bit angry. But due to the opponent's ability to use the 5 thunder correct technique, it suppressed dissatisfaction and sternly said, I advise you not to meddle in your own business. Although the landmine method suppresses ghosts, with your way of life, you will be torn apart by me before you scatter me. You are too confident. The one who spoke this time was the fox phantom behind the young man. The next second, the fox's phantom sat on the ground, pinching its claws and twirling 2 orange fox flames from behind. Landmine law, ground fire thunder. Boom. As soon as the earth-yellow arc comes into contact with the fox fire, it is like a thunder hooking the earth fire. Thunder and fire exploded, and the roar grew louder before. The crowd outside only felt thunderous bursts, the ground shaking incessantly, and the flames and thunder flickering incessantly in the villa, with terrifying screams echoing in the night sky. At this moment, no one on horseback was able to make it. Upon hearing the chilling howl and seeing the flickering thunder and fire in the villa, they couldn't help but look at each other. Sir, what's wrong with this? A person who lost their child grabbed the official and asked, and the person being asked happened to be the one who had just said he was trying to deceive. At this moment, his face showed respect and he clasped his fists and humbly bowed, saying, Master Hu of the Hu family used the lightning method to kill the fierce ghost. Don't bother, maybe you can save your child later. The people who followed up showed joy upon hearing this, looking eagerly at the entrance of the Wushuang. In an instant, the thunder and fire dissipated, and the figure of the red-clad ghost was nowhere to be seen. The ghost cave in the center of the Wushuang was blown open, and 5 child-sized little ghosts timidly hid behind the entrance. Their eyes were either disgusted, fearful, or ignorant as they looked at the young man who was using the lightning technique, neither daring to attack nor escape. Surprisingly, he was able to escape the ghost's life. This red-clothed ghost has indeed been practicing Taoism for some years. As he muttered to himself, the the young man from the Hu family shouted to the 5 little ghosts. What about the child who was deceived by you? One of the little ghosts raised his hand and said crudely, Master Xian, they are all below. He is actually a clever ghost. The young man nodded and asked again, have you ever harmed their lives? No, the ghost mother asked us to suck on their popularity and improve our moral character. Can there be other malicious arrangements below? No more. Okay, wait and come over. If it hasn't harmed anyone's life yet, it's not impossible to send you to wait for reincarnation. After speaking, the young man from the Hu family turned around and said to Wang Quanran, who was waiting outside the door. Mr. Wang, go down and find your child. Remember not to find the wrong person. If you find the wrong person, your child's 3 souls and 7 souls will fall into the wrong body. Thank you very much, Immortal Master. Thank you very much, Immortal Master. Wang Quanran hurriedly walked into the underground cave, and the people outside rushed up when they heard that he could go find his own child. But the young man from the Hu family took a step and stood in front of the door, with 5 little ghosts lining up behind him to block the rushing crowd. Before everyone could speak, the young man from the Hu family spoke loudly. Don't worry, everyone. Summoning souls should not be chaotic. If you all go down together and talk nonsense, your child's soul may be called upon by other children. After hearing this, everyone calmed down and then began to argue about who would go down second. The young man from the Hu family waved to the officials upon seeing the situation. The officials hurriedly approached and the leader respectfully said, What is the mission of the Immortal Master? The boy pointed to the noisy crowd in front of the door. Do you all have records of these people's missing children? Yes. Then let's start with the earliest missing child and arrange accordingly. After speaking, the young man ignored it and turned to look at the 5 little ghosts behind him. Do you still have nostalgia? The 5 little ghosts looked at each other and eventually shook their heads. At this moment, Wang Quanran came up from the cave with a child in his arms and quickly walked up to the boy's side, thankfully saying, Thank you very much, Master Xian, for your help. The boy nodded and looked at the child in his arms, saying, First, take your child back. Although your child has not been popular for smoking, he is affected by ghost gas and needs to take a bath with ginger boiling water, otherwise he may fall ill. I will be there later. Yes, thank you very much for your guidance, Master Xian. Wang Quanran nodded repeatedly, ran out of the Wushuang with his child in his arms, boarded his own carriage, and rushed to the mansion. The young man nodded to the officials and immediately took over the gate of the Wushuang, allowing the parents of the earliest missing child to go first. He himself lit 3 green incense sticks for the 5 little ghosts, inquired about the red-clothed demon, and then began reciting the Sutra of Reincarnation. The bodies of the 5 little ghosts gradually faded, eventually turning into light dots and dissipating in the air. After solving the 5 little ghosts, the young man left the Wushuang and intentionally slowed down to walk towards the Wang family mansion. Firstly, I wanted to see if the red-clothed demon could be killed back, as the demon's actions were extreme and such actions were also possible. Secondly, it is also to express gratitude for catching up with the child after being carried out, and to ask the parents how to treat the child to clarify their doubts. Except for the children of the Wang family, the other children have been arrested in the Wushuang for some time, and the popularity of being sucked requires 1 or 2 years of cultivation to recover. Zhaozuiyuan.com. Walking slowly along the way, amidst the intermittent cries of gratitude, the young man from the Hu family returned to the Wang family residence. As soon as he entered the lobby, Wang Quanran walked forward holding 2 boxes and said with a respectful expression, Thank you, Master Xian, for taking the initiative to rescue my child. These are the 3-leaf fox ginseng and soul-chasing ginseng that we agreed upon. The young man from the Hu family opened the box of 3-leaf fox ginseng and glanced at it, then nodded and put it away. This matter has come to an end. Mr. Wang's many acts of kindness will bring blessings. Let's bid farewell to it. Master, are you leaving now? Wang Quanran didn't expect Master Hu of the Hu family to leave so urgently, and he wanted to ask for a few more items to protect the house. He quickly took out the silver ticket from his sleeve. But there was a flash of spiritual light in front of me, and a fox phantom with two tails rose from the young man of the Hu family, straight into the sky. Fox Fairy. Wang Quanran quickly knelt down on the ground and kowtowed repeatedly to the fox's phantom. Mr. Wang, the Fox Immortal's family has left, and you won't be able to see him again if you knock on his family. The tone of the Hu family boy remained unchanged, but his tone became more restrained, as if he had suddenly changed his personality. Upon hearing this, Wang Quanran quickly stood up to please and said, Immortal Master, the Fox Immortal's family came and went in a hurry, but his family just summoned the 5 ghosts for questioning. I'm worried that those 5 ghosts haven't left yet. Speaking, he looked left and right, as if worried that the 5 ghosts he had seen before in the woodshed would suddenly jump out. The Fox Immortal has already said, Mr. Wang, if you do good deeds, you will have good karma. Little ghosts dare not come to your door. The young man from the Hu family pushed away the silver ticket handed over by Wang Quanran, turned around, and walked out faster and faster, finally running away. Hey, Immortal Master, Immortal Master. Watching the young man running away, Wang Quanran called out several times before finally sighing helplessly. Chapter 3. New Partner. You are listening at novelfull.audio. The young man from the Hu family left the city and ran for about 10 miles before reaching the town outside the city. Entered a mansion in the town and headed straight to the ancestral hall. Taking incense and igniting it, he knelt in front of a statue with a fox head and a human body, panting heavily. He placed the 3-leaf fox ginseng and chasing soul ginseng given by Wang Quanran at the table and whispered. Fox Immortal's divine power, bless my Hu family. Green smoke rises, gradually melting into nothingness. Destined, Yu Beast Sect, and Hu Er Shan in the Spirit Beast Mountain Range. A 2-tailed spirit fox sleeping on its tail opens its eyes. My moral character is a bit lacking. Under the thunder of the earth fire, the fierce ghost in red can actually escape his life. If I were promoted to the 3rd tail, the power of the fox fire would definitely increase by tens of thousands. As he spoke to himself, wisps of green smoke appeared before his eyes. There are 2 ginseng medicines with different shapes wrapped around the green smoke, one of which looks like a fox overall, and 3 green leaves at the tail. The other one, the ginseng beard coiled around the ginseng body, with 3 thick and 7 thin, seems to correspond to the 3 souls and 7 souls of living beings. The 2-tailed spirit fox took a light breath, and the fox-like ginseng medicine blended into its nose with the green smoke, quickly swimming through its body. In an instant, the aura on these 2-tailed spirit foxes rose and their bodies became larger in a circle. The ginseng medicine that was not inhaled dissipates along with the remaining green smoke. After a moment, the 2-tailed spirit fox opened its eyes and nodded in satisfaction. The medicinal effects of the 3-leaf fox ginseng from these 300 years are indeed amazing. Even if the medicinal power is not fully digested, combined with the worship of the Hu family during this period, it should be within this month that the breakthrough of the 3 tails has occurred. Then he got up slightly distressed and walked towards the mountaintop. I have just been promoted to the 2nd tier less than a month ago, and so quickly promoted to the 3rd tier is even faster than the top tier spirit roots spirit fox. Would it be too ostentatious? Who would have thought that half a year ago, he was still on the outskirts of the mountains, eagerly waiting for the daily meal of Tai Sui meat, and now he is distressed by his rapid promotion. Before coming into this world, Chen Yuan was just an ordinary person who loved exercising. After working overtime on a certain day, go home to make up for the amount of exercise from the previous 2 days. As a result, excessive lifting of iron resulted in rhabdomyolysis and bilateral renal failure. After lying in the hospital for 2 days, he opened his eyes and turned into a young fox. As a newcomer to the new world, he was bullied by an unscrupulous old fox and decided to continue raising his iron. But there is no iron here, only stones to lift for him. In addition, he is diligent in swallowing the essence of day and night, and his body becomes more and more robust as he grows, which is very prominent among the foxes. On the day when he bullied the old foxes that had bullied him one by one, the Taoist of the Beast Sect brought him to Huar Mountain and asked him to take on the new responsibility of fox breeding. The reason is that he eats too much, grows strong, has sufficient energy, and his spiritual roots barely pass. Since entering Huar Mountain, in addition to fulfilling the responsibility of reproduction given by the sect, he also occasionally goes to the mountaintop to meet the senior members of the fox tribe. Especially after being promoted to the two-tailed spirit fox and selected as a partner by the disciples of the Beast Sect, he had to go out to carry out tasks and ran diligently towards the mountaintop. No, that old fox on the mountaintop can collect wool. No, the method of collecting wool. And that old fox is good-looking and speaks well. Chen Yuan likes it. Arriving at the mountaintop, one can see the fox the size of a house from afar. Seemingly sensing Chen Yuan approaching, the fox the size of a house opened its eyes and emitted a clear and melodious female voice. You fox cub, instead of discussing reproduction with the mother fox in the mountains, you are running towards me every day and night. What's going on this time? Your cultivation has risen so fast, you have dug up wild elixirs. Senior Ming Jian, I took a miraculous medicine by chance. Chen Yuan took 2 steps in 3 steps and jumped onto the back of the 5-tailed spirit fox to help it step on its back, saying, Senior, besides the landmine method, are there other ways to deal with ghosts and monsters? The old fox squinted its eyes and said dissatisfied. How could you be so timid, fox cub? The landmine technique is already the top way to counter ghosts and monsters, and even if given other methods, you cannot control them with your cultivation. It's not that the younger generation is timid, it's just that the fierce ghost I met last time was too terrifying. Look at my partner, if it weren't for my fast pace, he would have died on the road. That can only be said that your luck is not good at times. Even if you carry out the lowest level sect mission, you can encounter 200 years of righteous spirits. The old fox lazily moved its position, and its tail threw a spiritual light onto Chen Yuan. Well, I'll give you this Dao Yuan Fen Shu as well. Although there are no advanced techniques to follow, the simple heavenly gang cloth battle formation also has a restraining effect on ghosts and monsters. However, it needs to be arranged in advance, you can handle it according to your own preferences. Thank you very much, Senior. I will go pick the cow spirit fruit for you now. Getting what he wanted, Chen Yuan immediately ran away, making the old fox laugh and curse loudly. Half a year after coming to Huar Mountain, Chen Yuan had already figured out the roots of the old fox. Previously, it was a 6-tailed demon fox that could transform into a human form, but suffered serious injuries and had a broken tail. After the decline in cultivation, he could no longer transform into a human form. Feeling disheartened and lazy, he stayed at the Huar Mountain to retire, while assigning spiritual foxes to the disciples of the Imperial Beast Sect who came to choose spiritual foxes. I don't have any bad habits, I just love the cow spirit fruit growing on the neighboring Huinyo Mountain. Nulingguo is stimulated by the lung qi of the fire cow when it swallows the day and night essence. It is a kind of lingua with a taste very similar to that of beef sauce. Take a stroll around the Fire Bull Mountain and pull the aggressive Fire Bull back and forth. Picking the ox spirit fruit and returning to Huar Mountain, I found a strange young Taoist in front of the old fox. As soon as I approached, I heard the old fox say, Fox cub, this is Zhao Qua, your new partner. Swinging the curled bull spirit fruit on his tail towards the old fox, Chen Yuan glanced at his new partner and curiously asked, Why did you suddenly change partners? The old fox opened its mouth and swallowed the bull spirit fruit, squinting its eyes to enjoy it at Shuyuan www.zhaoshuyuan.com. Your original partner injured the source, and the cost of completely healing him is too high. The sect has sent him to become a secular deacon and enjoy a lifetime of wealth and prosperity. Good guy, he has become an abandoned child. Chen Yuan thought to himself and immediately looked at his new partner. The kind that looks careless and inconspicuous when thrown into the crowd. Zhao Kuo saw the two-tailed spirit fox looking at him and clasped his fists, saying, I, Zhao Kuo, am going to Binzhou City with Brother Hu to solve the Li Ghost. I hope you can take good care of me on the way. The members of the Imperial Beast Sect treat spirit beasts not as servants in other sects, but as partners. Even after the transformation of spiritual beasts, there are many who form Taoist couples with them. Not bad, quite polite. Chen Yuan nodded and picked up his paw to pinch the formula of the landmine method, blasting a pit in the nearby grassland and causing electric currents to flow wildly. Brother Hu's lightning technique is sharp and intimidating. Zhao Kuo, whether it was a compliment or genuine praise, took out a talisman and said, I have exchanged the Heavenly Thunder talisman from my sect. If this talisman fails, Brother Fox will need to take action at that time. Humph, good, be prepared, not be foolish. Chen Yuan nodded and then looked at the old fox. What do you think I'm doing? I've given you both the landmine technique and the Daoyuan divination technique. Even if you can't defeat them, the spirit fox I gave you before will be enough for you to escape every month. What else do you want? The old fox flicked its tail in frustration. Chen Yuan and Zhao Kuo were in a daze before their eyes, and after spinning around, they had reached the foot of Huer Mountain. This old fox is so stingy. He only gives spells and not talismans. Next time, he will pick 2 half-ripe fruits for it. Chapter 4. Wushuang Restaurant. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chen Yuan rose in his heart, and then he heard Zhao Kuo say, Brother Fox, how about taking the flying boat below to Binzhou City? But Zhao Kuo threw a green leaf, forming a flat boat floating in front of one person and one fox. Oh no, there's actually a flying boat. He's a wealthy and powerful master. The previous partner only had a disposable flying paper crane. Humph. Chen Yuan boarded the flat boat and watched Zhao Kuo control it to fly, with a hint of envy in his eyes. Unfortunately, I reincarnated as a fox. If I were to reincarnate as a human, well, maybe there's not even a spiritual root. Forget it, the fox is also good. It can break through 4 tails and fly in the wind. Don't envy, we don't envy. The boat flew away from the Spirit Beast mountain range, crossing several large rivers and mountains. During this period, Zhao Kuo's spiritual power was weak and he landed and rested a few times. 2 days later in the evening, the boat entered the mortal kingdom and landed in the lord's mansion of a coastal town. Zhao Kuo was dressed in the attire of a member of the Imperial Beast Sect, causing the city lord who received the report to rush out of the study and clasp his fists in front of Zhao Kuo, shouting. The lord of Binzhou City, Luoan, respectfully welcomes the arrival of immortals. No need for much courtesy. Zhao Kuo put away his boat and looked at the other person, saying, Lord of Luoyang, is there still any movement from that fierce ghost who caused trouble recently? Luan said with a hint of shame and unease. Report to the immortal, after the fierce ghost clashed with the disciples of the immortal sect that day, the area south of the city has become a forbidden area. I once sent death row inmates to investigate, but all those who entered did not come out again, so I don't know what exactly happened inside. Anyway, I'll take a break and check later. Lord of Los Angeles, please go ahead and get busy. Knowing that it was useless to make trouble for this mortal, Zhao Kuo waved his hand to send the other person away and took out a bright yellow talisman to look at Chen Yuan. Brother Fox, what do you think? Chen Yuan has not yet refined the transverse bones behind his head, and his mouth cannot speak. He can only respond in fox language. Yi. Although the fierce ghost launched a surprise attack that day, it also consumed the sword energy that erupted from my fox fire and Lin Dong's desperate efforts, perhaps also damaging their vitality. Brother Lin is indeed a pity. Zhao Kuo, who used animal language symbols to communicate with Chen Yuan, sighed and then asked. In Brother Ihu's opinion, should we go immediately while the fierce ghost has not yet recovered? Chen Yuan pondered for 2 seconds and said in fox language. Don't worry, noon is the weakest time for ghosts and monsters every day. Let's take a night off and go tomorrow. Meanwhile, let the city lord prepare something for me. Zhao Kuo's face, holding the beast language talisman, gradually brightened as he said, Brother Fox, will you still set up formations? The fierce ghost will surely die this time. On the second day at noon, when the sun was scorching, Zhao Kuo and Chen Yuan arrived at the south of the city. The residents here have long dispersed, and in addition to being fenced off, a ditch has been dug to prevent children and livestock from entering. Brother Fox, do you still remember the location where the fierce ghost hid? Wushuang restaurant, come with me. Chen Yuan responded in fox language, leaped over the fence, and ran towards the position of Wushuang restaurant. Zhao Kuo stepped forward to follow, while taking out the inferior magic weapon Qingfeng sword to protect himself, with a hidden thunder talisman in his sleeve. As one person and one fox delved deep into the south of the city, the gate of the prison suddenly opened, and a group of soldiers escorted the prisoners out and drove them towards the south of the city. Xiaoqing, Chen Yuan led Zhao Kuo to the dilapidated Wushuang restaurant. Watching the restaurant, which had been stained with ghostly aura and turned into a dilapidated mess, Chen Yuan's mind wandered over the situation from a month ago. At that time, the lord of the city, Luoan, reported for help, and people in the city were killed every 3 months. After searching for the culprit in every possible way, I had no choice but to report it to the Imperial Beast Sect. Based on the frequency of only killing 1 life in 3 months, the Imperial Beast Sect speculates that this place is just a small ghost causing trouble, and therefore lists this as the lowest level sect mission. After Lin Dong took on this task, he came with Chen Yuan, who had just broken through to the 2-tailed spirit fox. Following the guidance of the Yin-seeking technique, Lin Dong and Chen Yuan found this unparalleled restaurant along the way. But just as they were exploring this restaurant, a fierce ghost hidden inside launched a surprise attack and hit Lin Dong severely. If it weren't for Lin Dong and Chen Yuan's quick reaction, timely counterattack, and immediate escape, Lin Dong would probably have been out of breath on the spot. However, even so, Lin Dong also damaged his vitality and became an abandoned son of the sect. Thinking about it now, it seems a bit strange. A fierce ghost who has been practicing Taoism for 200 years can now find a place with strong yin energy to cultivate on their own, without the need to consume popularity. If you are greedy for words, you should immediately flee after mass slaughter. Why is this fierce ghost still here? Is there a treasure in this restaurant that attracts ghosts? Is there any other reason that motivates Li Gui to continue staying here? Zhao Kuo saw Chen Yuan looking at the restaurant in silence and asked in a voice, Brother Hu. With his thoughts interrupted, Chen Yuan stopped thinking too much. That day, Lin Dong and I encountered a fierce ghost in this building. Do you have any method such as searching for Yin? I'm sorry, I haven't learned this skill yet. Before coming over, I borrowed the Find Yin talisman from a friend on credit. This talisman will automatically find the location with the heaviest Yin energy nearby and can be used 5 times. Then let's first confirm if the ghost is still here, be careful. After a brief conversation between one person and one fox, Zhao Kuo took out a grey talisman and urged it with a pinching technique. The grey talisman flew from Zhao Kuo's hand, circled in the air, and then flew into the Wushuang restaurant. It seems that the ghost is still here. Zhao Kuo's face tightened slightly as he was about to follow in, but Chen Yuan spoke out. Don't worry, give me the items that the Lord of Los Angeles has found. I'll set up the formation first just in case. Yes, Brother Fox has a well-thought-out plan. Zhao Kuo nodded repeatedly, took out the green incense and bronze mirror from the storage bag, and searched for items such as red ropes from the book garden www.zhaozuiyuan.com. In the past 2 days of coming to Binzhou City, Chen Yuan has become familiar with the Daoyuan divination technique given by Old Fox. The Tian Gang Budo formation inside is only a simplified and weakened version, which does not require high cultivation from the decorator. What triggers it is not the true heavenly gang, but the ordinary vitality of heaven and earth. Wrap the red rope around the Wushuang restaurant, insert a green fragrance at a specific formation point, fix the bronze mirror at the formation eye, and Chen Yuan swings his fox tail repeatedly, dotting the fox fire, igniting the green fragrance on the spot. Smoke rises, and the entire restaurant becomes hazy under the sunlight. The copper mirrors at the array of eyes continuously absorb the sunlight, but instead become dim. Let's go, the bronze mirror can only support 1 stick of incense, and over time it will be burned by the sunlight. Brother Fox is a great talent. Zhao Kuo praised and walked into the restaurant with Chen Yuan. As soon as they entered, one person and one fox felt a sudden drop in temperature, and the broken tables, chairs, and floors were covered in frost. Searching for Yin Fu floating in mid-air, prompted by Zhao Kuo, flew towards the stairs leading to the second floor. Zhao Kuo tightened his Qin Feng sword and followed the second floor with a slightly tight expression. Chen Yuan's 2 fox tails ignited 2 fox fires, ready to take action at any time. Before reaching the second floor, the noisy sound of persuasion and fist-guessing came from upstairs. Hearing this, Zhao Kuo and Chen Yuan couldn't help but slow down their steps and looked up from the position of the staircase. But on the second floor, the table was full of guests and the lights were bright. The prisoner in death row uniform laughed heartily as he hugged the delicate girl like a flower. The waiter who served wine and food ran back and forth, forming a sharp contrast with the silence on the first floor. This. Zhao Kuo was startled and instinctively looked at Chen Yuan. But I saw that it was originally the partner of the 2-tailed spirit fox, and at some point it had turned into a pitiful white skeleton. Chapter 5. Blood Shah. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Brother Fox. Zhao Kuo exclaimed in surprise, then heard the pleasant sound of the qin and the soft and tender female voice. Since the immortal has come to this place of fireworks, why not climb upstairs to admire the moon and taste wine with me? This voice seemed to have magical power, making Zhao Kuo instinctively want to comply, while at the same time giving birth to infinite imagination in his heart. What kind of cute person said such a beautiful voice from? He instinctively lifted his foot, but something grabbed his feet. Looking down, a corpse that had been dead for an unknown amount of time was grabbing his calf with decaying hands. Ah! Zhao Kuo was so frightened that his whole body trembled with excitement, and the Qin Feng sword in his hand was immediately cut off. The decaying hand withdrew, and Zhao Kuo hurriedly took 3 steps and 2 steps to climb up the second floor. He had just come up when the death row inmates who had been holding the girl and drinking and laughing suddenly turned their heads to look at him. They were still laughing, but their laughter became hollow. At this moment, the jade pendant on Zhao Kuo's chest shook and immediately broke into 2 pieces, falling off. And he felt as if his chest had been punctured, his mind clear. Where else are there bright lights in front of you, delicate girl? Only corpses scattered everywhere, as well as fierce ghosts with blue faces and fang teeth, disheveled hair, and dressed in red robes, were in front of them. Hey! Jump back! The fox's cry came from behind, and Zhao Kuo instinctively followed suit. As soon as he lifted his feet off the ground, the fierce ghost's feet in front of him burst into a yellowish electric light. Boom! 5 Thunder Method, Earth Thunder Method. Ah! The sharp ghost's painful howl sounded, causing Zhao Kuo's head to crack. But he is also a decisive person, standing in mid-air, playing the Thunderbolt talisman clasped in his sleeve, and whispering with one hand. Illness. The Sky Thunder talisman hitting the fierce ghost emitted a brilliant light, and the air seemed to fall into stillness. In the next moment, a white lightning with thin arms pierced through the restaurant and descended from the sky. Ah! The fierce ghost howled in agony, with black mist rising from its body, but it didn't hold up for a second before being scattered by the sky thunder. Seeing this, Zhao Kuo, who could fall back down the stairs, breathed a sigh of relief and turned to look at his partner. But I saw that one of the tails of the two-tailed spirit fox had been soaked with blood, and there was a hint of solemnity on its face. Thinking of the scene where he swung his sword and chopped back the body just now, Zhao Kuo quickly spoke up. "Brother Fox. Humph, get out quickly, something's wrong here." Chen Yuan interrupted Zhao Kuo's words and turned to run towards the entrance of Wushuang restaurant. At this moment, Zhao Kuo no longer had a heart-protecting jade pendant. Upon hearing this, he quickly followed out of the restaurant. Outside the restaurant, it was originally a cloudless day for thousands of miles, but at some point the sun had been obscured by dark clouds, and a ghostly aura seeped out from the restaurant. "What's going on here?" Zhao Kuo looked at the sky with a frightened expression on his face, and then heard Chen Yuan sniffle and say, "There's a strong smell of blood, I'm afraid this is a trap, it's on my back." Trap. Zhao Kuo's heart skipped a beat, thinking of Lin Shidi, who had been abandoned by the sect, and he quickly jumped onto Chen Yuan's back. Chen Yuan ran the spirit fox chasing the moon as fast as a startled swan towards the outside of the city. But they react quickly, and the ghost gas seeping out of the restaurant is faster. In the blink of an eye, the ghostly aura condensed into green and black ghostly claws the size of a house, and suddenly grabbed at each person and fox. Chen Yuan is dual-purpose, running the spirit fox chasing the moon, while urging the pre-arranged Tiangang cloth battle formation. The red rope is used as the bone, the misty green smoke is used as the skin, and the large net that turns into red bones and blue skin wraps around the green-black ghost claws. The copper mirror at the eye of the formation burst out a dazzling beam of light, instantly piercing through the blue and black ghost claws. Ah! Ghost claws howled and screamed in agony, transforming back into human form. With one tear of their hands, they tore open the large net transformed by the Heavenly Gang cloth battle formation. But I saw this fierce ghost with delicate eyebrows and graceful figure, but with a fierce expression, dressed in a green and red robe. She stared at the fleeing individuals and foxes, reached out to wipe away the smoking hole in her chest, and said with resentment, "Stinky fox, I will definitely tear you apart this time." As she spoke, she lifted her hands weakly, and the smell of blood around her became even stronger, staining the entire southern part of the city with a layer of blood. This is the fierce ghost who is about to break through the ghost general. Looking at the bloody curtain rising ahead, Chen Yuan's scalp tingled and he finally knew why this fierce ghost had been exposed and still wouldn't leave. She's betting that the Beast Sect won't send two powerful cultivators. After all, dying an ordinary person in 3 months is not a big deal for cultivators. Sending 1 or 2 cultivators during the qi refining period can already be considered as valuing this ordinary country. Just an ordinary qi refining cultivator, facing a fierce ghost who is about to be promoted to the rank of Ghost General, it's like delivering food to their doorstep. I guess it was last time I used a secret technique to escape quickly. This fierce ghost didn't use all his strength because he couldn't catch up and was afraid of startling the snake. This time she waited for the rabbit and didn't know what other arrangements she had made. The sudden smell of blood and the dark clouds covering the sun must be a problem. His thoughts quickly turned, and he led Zhao Kuo to the bloody curtain. When he saw the dead prisoners who had been bled in the ditch, he suddenly understood in his heart. Turns out this city lord has already colluded with the fierce ghost. Zhao Kuo also understood this point, but at this time he had no time to express his opinion on the matter. Swinging the Qingfeng sword, several sword energies fell on the bloody curtain, causing some ripples. Upon seeing this, Zhao Kuo turned his head to look at the female ghost chasing after him, and his face tightened slightly as he took out a red talisman. "Brother Fox, I only have 1 red flame talisman left now." The fierce ghost chasing after him with a sharp smile said. Ha ha ha. The blood Sha formation has risen, where can you escape? Be obedient and let me swallow your flesh and blood, suck up your souls, and help me promote to the ghost general. Chen Yuan's heart skipped a beat, and his fox tail swung out a fox fire that landed on the bloody curtain. Make a full effort to attack the location of fox fire on Shuyuan www.zhaoshuyuan.com. Okay. After a brief exchange, Zhao Kuo drew the red flame talisman in his hand. As he pinched the formula with his left hand, his face turned red as he waved his Qingfeng sword with his right hand, slash. A condensed sword energy slashed out, almost simultaneously falling onto the fox fire with the red flame talisman struck. Illness. The red flame talisman shattered, and the burst red flames instantly engulfed the fox fire. The scorching high temperature twisted the air, causing the blood-colored curtains to thin out. The condensed sword energy followed closely, cutting a gap in the thin curtain. 5 Thunder correct method, Earth Fire Thunder. Boom. The earth yellow electric light lit up, combined with the flame of the red flame symbol, which was several times stronger than Chen Yuan's Earth Fire Thunder paired with fox fire. A fox not far from the explosion had a dry tongue, dry and erect hair, as if all the water in its body had been dried by this landmine fire. The exposed skin felt a strong stinging sensation. At the place where the thunder and fire erupted, a huge opening was torn open in the blood-colored curtain. Chen Yuanxiang endured the excruciating pain on his body and rushed into the still lingering thunder, rushing all the way through the torn opening. I want you to die. A resentful roar came from behind, which surprised Chen Yuan's heart. The instinct of the creature told him that something very terrifying appeared behind him. Turning his head and glancing, he saw the fierce ghost tightening the bloody curtain at his fingertips and fiercely pointing at them. Shoo! The blood demon condensed into a beam of light, catching up with one person and one fox in an instant. Humph, that's it. The blood demon was so fast that Chen Yuan even had the idea of dodging, and the beam of light came to each person and fox. Chapter 6. One word. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Explosion. But as Zhao Kuo whispered, the Qingfeng sword in his hand somehow blocked the bloody Sha beam and exploded. The strong impact spread, slightly blocking the blood demon beam and pushing each person and fox away from their original route. Shoo! The blood-colored beam brushed through one person and one fox, disappearing on the horizon. Puff! At close range, Zhao Kuo suffered the impact of a magic weapon's self-explosion, coupled with its backlash, causing him to spit out a mouthful of blood and faint on Chen Yuan's back. At this point, Chen Yuan was also heavily injured, with most of his hair burned by lightning and fire, and blood oozing from his limbs and body. But after all, he is a spirit fox beast body, and he never stops exercising day and night, nor does he have to endure the backlash of self-destructing magic weapons, so in fact, it just looks miserable, and the actual impact is not that great. At this moment, like a floating swan, it quickly disappeared in front of the fierce ghost. Seeing the fierce ghost roaring as it couldn't catch up, it stopped in place for a moment and turned around with a resentful expression, flying towards Binzhou City. 10 days later, Chen Yuan appeared on the outskirts of the Imperial Beast Sect with Zhao Kuo on his back, and was brought back to the sect by disciples on duty on the outskirts. Chen Yuan, who had traveled a long way back, finally breathed a sigh of relief and fainted on the spot. When he woke up again, he had returned to Huar Mountain, and not far away was the huge body of the old fox. Wake up. It's said that your new partner hasn't woken up yet. Tell me what's going on. The female voice of old fox Qingyue came over, which made Chen Yuan subconsciously remember the situation during this period. He rolled over and sighed. The fierce ghost in the coastal city is about to break through the ghost general, deliberately showing weakness to lure us forward, with the aim of devouring cultivators and spirit beasts to break through. The old fox raised its eyelids slightly and said in confusion. Your partner has a thunder talisman. Even if a ghost general gets hit by it, he will still be seriously injured. Why did he end up in such a situation? Chen Yuan recalled the situation at that time and said with uncertainty. Zhao Kuo's heavenly thunder talisman hit Li Gui, but the Li Gui that appeared afterwards was clearly not injured. It is possible that there were already 2 Li Gui in Binzhou City, or that the Li Gui who was struck by the heavenly thunder talisman was just an illusion created by the formation. Formation. The old fox raised its head and said with slightly narrowed eyes. The naturally formed fierce ghost doesn't know the way of formation. Are you sure that fierce ghost has arranged the formation? Sure, when I noticed something was amiss and planned to take Zhao Kuo away, the fierce ghost bluntly said that she had set up a blood Sha formation, and finally used the landmine method to cooperate with Zhao Kuo's red flame talisman before rushing out. The old fox listened and pondered for a few seconds before spitting out a glowing bell. Ding-ling. The crisp ringtone diffused between heaven and earth. After a few breaths, a blue and white stream of light flew from the sky, transforming into a palace-dressed beauty. The palace-dressed beauty glanced at Chen Yuan lying on the ground and then turned to look at the old fox. Ling Mei, what happened? The old fox sat up straight for a rare moment and repeated what Chen Yuan Gang had just said. The beautiful woman in palace attire frowned and said, it seems that either someone is secretly raising ghost generals within our sect's jurisdiction, or it is this sharp ghost coincidence that has inherited some evil cultivation. Someone deliberately raises ghost generals. Chen Yuan blinked and then spoke out. The 2 predecessors, the Lord of Binzhou City, Luoan, should have colluded with the Li Ghost. When the younger generation and Zhao Kuo went to the Li Ghost's hiding place, they did not smell any blood, but when they left, they found that some death row inmates were taken nearby to release blood. The old fox heard this and asked, are you sure that the city lord was not bewitched by a fierce ghost? Chen Yuan nodded and his spiritual power reached his eyes. The talent awakened by the younger generation when breaking through the second tail is the spirit eye. If the city lord is bewitched by ghosts, there will be residual ghost energy on his body. Looking at Chen Yuan's blue eyes, the old fox nodded and said. It's possible, but it's also possible that the ghost used the lord's family's life as a threat, and the lord had to cooperate. That's right, if you directly coerce, there won't be any trace of ghostly energy left. At that time, the situation was critical, and I instinctively thought that the city lord had betrayed the Beast Sect and cooperated with the Li Ghost to lure and kill him and Zhao Kuo, but I forgot that the city lord might have been coerced. Thinking of this, Chen Yuan spoke out. It's the younger generation's rudeness, but since the city lord has had contact with the fierce ghost, he may ask him something. The palace-dressed beauty shook her head and said, Binzhou City has become a ghost. All the creatures in the city have been drained and refined, and their corpses and souls have disappeared. Chen Yuan sighed at the words. He had guessed this situation when he left with Zhao Kuo that day. That ghost failed to swallow him and Zhao Kuo, so it must have escaped. But before escaping, it is also very reasonable to use the flesh and blood of all the creatures in the city to replace the cultivators and spirit beasts, in order to be promoted. The difference is that if she only swallowed the cultivator and spirit beast, the fierce ghost would leave for a period of time to avoid the limelight, and later could return to Binzhou City. However, now that she has sacrificed all the creatures in the city, she will definitely be pursued to the end by the Imperial Beast Sect. After all, as a well-known faction in the Earth Immortal Realm, the Imperial Beast Sect treats ordinary towns under its jurisdiction as nothing has happened after being slaughtered by fierce ghosts, and rumors will only become a laughing-stock. After seeing him sigh, the old fox remained silent and comforted, saying, You don't have to think too much, the sect will investigate this matter in the future. The palace-dressed beauty nodded and said, The sect has sent disciples from the ghost dog lineage to track down the construction period. If there is no one to respond to this fierce ghost, it will definitely be inseparable from our sect's jurisdiction. That's good, that's good. Chen Yuan nodded and then curiously said. By the way, how is Zhao Kuo's injury? He wouldn't have been injured to the source like Lin Dong, would he? The palace-dressed beauty shook her head and said, Lin Dong only injured the origin when the ghost energy entered the body. Zhao Kuo self-destructed a magic weapon. Although the injury was severe, it did not harm the origin. It can be cultivated for a period of time. That's good, I thought I was going to change partners again. Chen Yuan breathed a sigh of relief. After all, although Zhao Kuo detonated the magic weapon to save himself, it did indeed save him. Moreover, during the gas refining period, there is a flying boat, and executing the lowest level tasks can produce high-end goods such as Thunder Talisman and Red Flame Talisman. He must be a wealthy master. Although there was a bit of an accident this time, being a partner with someone like this is just one word. Stable as an old dog. Alright, go ahead and cultivate yourself well. Don't forget the great cause of reproduction. The old fox flicked its tail and threw Chen Yuan to the foot of the mountain. After asking, throw it away. What's the difference between this and getting rid of the grinding and killing the donkey? At least give me some healing potion. Chen Yuan muttered in dissatisfaction, returning to the small nest he had created to swallow his spiritual energy and seeking the Shuyuan www.zhaoshuyuan.com to heal the hidden wounds in his body. After talking to the old fox for a few more words, the palace lady transformed into a stream of light and disappeared into the sky. The old fox lazily lay down, looking at the direction where the palace-dressed beauty disappeared, with a faint look of nostalgia. In a town 600 miles east of Binzhou City, Luoan, dressed in a new outfit, walked on the bustling street with a tired and low expression. After a moment, he seemed to have heard something and nervously walked into an inn. After ordering a room, he hurriedly entered the room and ignored the waiter's suggestion of boiling water, bathing, eating wine, and preparing dishes. The waiter shouted twice outside the door but did not receive a response. He turned around and went downstairs, muttering in a low voice. You're another poor ghost. If you don't take a shower, go to bed. I'll have to wash an extra blanket. He had just come downstairs when he saw the shopkeeper respectfully leading one person and one dog in. Before he could approach the guests, the dog barked at him. Before the word beast could be spoken, the shopkeeper slapped the waiter in the face, causing him to swallow the word and look at the shopkeeper with a bewildered expression. Without giving the waiter a chance to speak, the shopkeeper waved and pushed him away. Get out of here, don't block the path of the immortal. Immortal. The waiter instinctively looked at the young man brought in by the shopkeeper, but he ignored him and led the big black dog up to the second floor. After a moment, the young man turned back and said to the shopkeeper with a slightly heavy expression. Go to report to the Lord's mansion and say, Li Gui has left Southeast County and is continuing north. Yes. The shopkeeper nodded and bowed, then kicked the waiter's buttocks. Didn't you hear what the fairy said? Hurry up and go. Chapter 7. Ghost Hair. You are listening at novelfull.audio. After the incident in Binzhou City, Chen Yuan lived a relatively peaceful life. In addition to practicing, daily activities include eating and lifting stones. Day after day, he felt a bit bored, so he decided to write a diary. May 15th. After completing the morning practice, Xiaohong arrived. It was already a four-tailed spirit fox, and I couldn't struggle, so I followed it. May 16th. I learned from the old fox that the ghost will have run a bit far, but it still belongs to the scope of the Beast Sect, and the sect has sent disciples from the Jidan period to pursue it. However, this has nothing to do with me. Today, it is Xiaoju, who is also a four-tailed spirit fox, and I have to follow it. May 17th. After practicing today, my dark injuries have healed and I have fully recovered from the exercise of lifting stones. After exercising my qi and blood, the little flower came. Although it only has two tails like me, under its bitter plea, I obeyed it once, only once. May 18th. After practicing this morning, my body felt a bit weak. I speculate that my injury happened to be so promiscuous, and my body was a bit weak. Therefore, from today on, no matter who it is, I have decided not to follow it. May 19th. Yesterday night, Little White arrived. Its top-level phantom spirit root, although only 3 tails, can now transform into a human form. Despite the darkness and high winds, I still followed. May 20th. How can I refuse the 4-tailed spirit fox of Xiaolan Tang Tang, who stayed overnight with crying reasons? May 21st. Xiaozi is here, her body is a 5-tailed spirit fox. What can I do? I have left. But I swear this is the last time. Even if the old fox comes tomorrow, I won't come. No big deal, I'll move in next to the old fox. I see who dares to force me. May 22nd. The old fox asked Little Green to send a message, and Zhao Qua had almost recovered. Not bad, this wealthy new partner is fine. At the same time, he refused Little Green's proposal to stay overnight on the grounds that his injuries had not healed. May 23rd. Yesterday, after completing his cultivation and completing his mission, the Little White came again. He said that he had learned a new dance art outside, but he disregarded it and transformed into a human form before jumping up. Not to mention, it was indeed beautiful, but I didn't follow it. I just followed his wishes. May 20th. Before he could finish writing the date, Chen Yuan wiped it off with his paw and reflected on himself. Chen Yuan, how could you be so promiscuous? Is this a diary? It's clearly a book called From. After speaking, he also erased the previous content and prepared to start today's practice. Fox Immortal's divine power, bless my Hu family. The sound of prayer came from the depths of the world, and Chen Yuan blinked, took a meditative posture, closed his eyes, and listened attentively to the sound. In the next moment, his inspiration left his body and flew into the blue and dark world, arriving in a world with sparse spiritual energy. For the essence, he also has the most basic sense, so there is no need to worry about someone attacking the essence without knowing it. This is the magical ability he gained when he broke through to the 2-tailed spirit fox. Spiritual passage through the lower realm, obtaining incense offered by the Hu family to enhance spiritual power, and being able to return to the body at any time. After trying several times to confirm that there were no issues, Chen Yuan settled down and made the offerings to the Hu family. At this moment, his inspiration fell on the statue of the fox head after he descended from the world. He looked at the crowd kneeling in front of the statue and asked, "What call me?" The head of the Hu family, who was kneeling in front of the statue, stood up straight and respectfully said, "Report to Fox Immortal, last time you helped the Wang family rescue the child, the Wang family master spread your skills everywhere. He has been running a pharmaceutical business for many years, and most of the people he meets are pharmaceutical merchants, so we didn't stop him. Recently, he was approached by a friend surnamed Yen who came to my Hu family for help. According to the Yen family's account, his house is haunted, and in recent days, hair has grown in his 7 orifices, which is very eerie and terrifying. Despite seeking medical help multiple times, he has been unable to solve the problem. It's a ghost again. Although the spiritual energy in this world is thin, it seems that ghosts are not affected." Chen Yuan speculated in his heart and immediately heard the head of the Hu family continue to say, "The Yen family has promised that if this matter can be resolved, they will receive a 200-year-old fire fox Lingji as compensation. However, his home is in a neighboring province and the journey is far away, so we have the courage to call on you. I wonder if you are willing to take action." Huahu Lingji. These pharmaceutical merchants do have some foundation, they have some inventory of strange and miraculous elixirs. With the help of this spiritual medicine, you can break through the 3-tailed spirit fox when you go back. Chen Yuan felt a slight joy in his heart and said, "This matter can be handled. Which of you will go?" The head of the Hu family pointed to the sturdy young man kneeling in the back row and said, "Report to the Fox Immortal, let Hu Tian go." "Okay." Chen Yuan didn't say anything and directly attached himself to Hu Tian. Hu Tian's body trembled slightly, and then a light blue glow appeared in his eyes. His body had been taken over by Chen Yuan. Standing up, Chen Yuan said to the head of the Hu family. "Let's go and meet the Yan family." "Yes." The head of the Hu family respectfully responded and immediately led Chen Yuan to the lobby. A moment later, Chen Yuan met Wang Quanran whom he had seen before, as well as the middle-aged man next to him. Upon seeing Hu Tian, Wang Quanran immediately said respectfully, "Immortal Master." Immediately whispered to the middle-aged man next to him. "Brother Yan, last time it was this immortal who saved my child." Chen Yuan let out a to Wang Quanran and turned his gaze to the middle-aged man next to him. With a bright blue light in his eyes, there is indeed a ghostly aura lingering around. Ah! Yan Ziqiang's face turned pale. Seeing that the people of the Hu family were mainly composed of this sturdy young man, and with strong recommendations from friends, regardless of whether the other person was young or unreliable, he took 2 steps forward and earnestly said. "I hope the Immortal Master can save my whole family. Our Yan family not only runs the medicinal herb business for generations, but also involves other aspects. If the Immortal Master has any other needs, they can bring them up. What our Yan family can do is to appoint the Immortal Master as their leader. Undoubtedly a businessman, speaking makes people feel comfortable." Chen Yuan nodded slightly and turned his head to the humanity of the Hu family. Take Black Dog Blood, find the book Garden www.zhaoshuyuan.com Yellow paper, wolf hair pen. About 10 seconds later, the Hu family brought what Chen Yuan wanted. Chen Yuan dipped his wolf hair pen in Black Dog Blood and pondered on some of the talismanic techniques recorded in Daoyuan Shu Shu. Injecting spiritual power into the pen, a low-level symbol for dispelling yin qi was drawn on yellow paper. The symbols resemble words but not words, and the instantly formed spiritual power locks the yellow paper, making it tough like cowhide. Shaking his hand, he hit the crude dispelling yin talisman on Yan Ziqiang's body, and Chen Yuan pinched the formula with one hand and drank it clearly. Illness. The dispelling yin talisman self-ignites without fire, but it ignites a blue ghost fire. Yan Ziqiang looked at the blue ghostly fire burning around his waist and instinctively took 2 steps back. After not feeling the burning pain, he felt a little calm in his heart and suspected that this was some kind of deception. In the next moment, he felt a tumultuous sensation in his abdomen, with a swollen throat, as if something was about to emerge. Wow! Finally, he couldn't help but let out a whoosh and spit out something like a ball of hair. This clump of hair seems to have autonomous consciousness, constantly rolling and twisting after landing, and rapidly growing and spreading to all sides. The stench permeated the lobby, and a cold and gloomy atmosphere spread to the surroundings, as if it was about to infect everyone here. Humph. Chen Yuan snorted coldly, his left hand holding the formula unchanged, and the injected spiritual power increased. In an instant, the blue ghost fire of dispelling yin talisman surged, burning away the cold and gloomy atmosphere in the lobby, along with the clump of hair on the ground. Wang Quanran, who had already seen Chen Yuan's methods, applauded and said, "The Immortal Master is indeed powerful, and with just one move, he solved this ghost." Chen Yuan, who had been praised, put down his left hand and was about to say something with a calm expression. Suddenly, he frowned slightly and looked at Yan Ziqiang. Chapter 8. Yan Family. You are listening at novelfull.audio. In Chen Yuan's eyes, the ghost energy in Yan Ziqiang's body was slowly recovering, and dispelling yin symbols only played a role in treating the symptoms rather than the root cause. Recovering from bloodline, the source comes from the ancestors of the Yan family. Or has the Yan family been subjected to some kind of ghost poison? After Yan Ziqiang spat out his hair, he was already convinced of Chen Yuan. However, seeing Chen Yuan looking at him silently, he couldn't help but feel flustered and say, Immortal Master, is there anything wrong? I feel much more comfortable now. I used to feel heavy in my body. Chen Yuan looked at the other person and asked instead of answering. Do you know the origin of the ghost in your house? Yan Ziqiang opened his mouth and smiled with a slightly stiff expression, saying. Where did the Immortal Master say that? How do I know the origin of the ghosts? Everyone present could see that his expression was different. Just as the head of the Hu family was about to scold him, Chen Yuan waved his hand and said. Well, let me go and take a look at your house. Thank you very much, Immortal Master. Thank you very much, Immortal Master. Yan Ziqiang quickly thanked him and then bowed to Wang Quanran. Brother Wang, I will thank you well after this matter. Wang Quanran also saw that his friend had some unspoken secrets and bowed back, saying. Hurry up and don't underestimate the Immortal Master. A simple farewell, Yan Ziqiang led Chen Yuan onto his carriage. After leaving the town, turned to the official road and rushed all the way to the provincial capital of the neighboring province. The city guard encountered on the way, after confirming that it was the Yan family's carriage, was released without any obstruction, even at night. 3 days later in the evening, Chen Yuan spoke out like a casual chat. It seems that the Yan family is also involved in official affairs. Yan Ziqiang nodded and said. Yes, my second brother has been appointed as a city guard in the provincial capital, so in several nearby provinces and regions, it can be considered a bit thin. Chen Yuanzhan nodded and said with a smile on his face. The business fortune is prosperous, the official position is accessible, and the Yan family's fortune is in full swing. Generally, little ghosts dare not even approach. Speaking of this, Yan Ziqiang's face was a bit unnatural, and he could only apologize twice, feeling resentful and silent. Chen Yuan couldn't help but shake his head slightly when he saw the situation. He had thought that Yan Ziqiang had not spoken before in the Hu family because there were many people at that time, and he had hidden difficulties in speaking. So I chose to bring up this topic at this moment. There were only him and Yan Ziqiang in the carriage, and even if there were any unspoken secrets, they could be said. However, this person still avoided discussing it. Closing his eyes, Chen Yuan leaned against the cushion of the carriage and said. Do you feel increasingly tired these days? Yan Ziqiang was taken aback by the feeling he had. He thought it was due to the fatigue of the boat and the constant rush of the road. But at this moment, when Chen Yuan mentioned it, it doesn't seem like that. Immortal Master, what do you mean? Your left ear has obscuring qi, why don't you take a look? Upon hearing this, Yan Ziqiang reached out and took out his left ear, only to find a few strands of hair. He trembled with fear and knelt down towards Chen Yuan in the carriage, shouting in terror. Immortal Master, save me. Chen Yuan didn't look at Yan Ziqiang kneeling down, but still closed his eyes and said calmly. These hair have been transformed by ghostly energy, which originates from your bloodline. Therefore, I speculate that the ghostly creature has a close relationship with your family. If you are not honest, then I will resort to heavy means and harm your family's human life. No one can blame me. Ah! Yan Ziqiang was so frightened that he knelt down and, with an anxious expression on his face, pondered for 2 seconds before biting his teeth and saying. I didn't mean to conceal it, it's just that I'm not the head of the family. When I return home, I will definitely explain my strong relationship to my elder brother. Even if he doesn't agree, I will inform the Immortal Master of this matter in its entirety. Chen Yuan opened his eyes and looked at him, waving his hand to get him up and sit up. It sounds like there are many concerns, he said. Yan Ziqiang sat back on the bench with a bitter smile and said, ancestral teachings warn that outsiders will be bound to death. I'm the final say of death. Chen Yuanlaishan said something while he was there, which made Yan Ziqiang feel much more stable in his heart. He quickly applauded and praised him. It's not Chen Yuan's arrogance, but the confidence he gained from the Earth Immortal Realm. In this world where spiritual energy is scarce, using the magic of the Earth Immortal Realm to deal with the ghosts and monsters here is completely a dimensionality reduction strike. The red-clad ghost in Wushuang is a good example. Continuing with a pure 5 Thunder Dharma, no matter how persistent or unwilling one may be, they will panic and flee for their lives, even the 5 little ghosts cannot afford to take them away. A few days later, the carriage stopped at the entrance of a large mansion. Yan Ziqiang got off the carriage first, lifted the curtain of the carriage, and respectfully said, "Immortal Master, here we are." Chen Yuan looked at the curtain that was lifted and smiled with blue eyes. "It's a bit interesting." After speaking, he followed Yan Ziqiang into the mansion and went to the reception hall. The head of the Yan family who received the message in advance, Yan himself, was already waiting in the reception hall. Seeing Yan Ziqiang leading a young man in and seeing no one else behind him, I couldn't help but sigh in shock. I'm afraid the third brother has been misled by a cover-up. With a sigh, he still stepped forward. "Third brother, is this Master Hu Xian? He is indeed young and promising." While saying these words, he looked up and down at Chen Yuan, and the more he looked, the more he felt that the other person was a fraud. Without hair on his mouth, he can't handle things firmly, his eyes are flickering, and he clearly hasn't seen much of the world. Well, just give me some silver money later and I'll dismiss this scammer. Yan Ziqiang saw his elder brother's thoughts and stepped forward to grab Yan Ziqiang's hand, saying, "Big brother, I guarantee with my life that Master Hu has true abilities." Oh. Yan saw his third brother's resolute words, and his gaze towards Chen Yuan couldn't help but become more solemn. Third brother has been running a business for many years and has seen many things in the world. He dares to guarantee his life. Perhaps this young man has some skills. After looking around on his own, Chen Yuan turned to Yan Ziqiang. "Yan Sanyi, your luck flourished like fire before entering this mansion." After entering the mansion, dark clouds covered the roof and blood appeared deceitfully. "Do you know what this represents?" Upon hearing the intimidating words of the martial arts sorcerer, Yan's face darkened. Just as he was about to speak, Chen Yuan looked at him and smiled. The luck of the Yan family leader is even more exaggerated. He almost wrote the word death on his face. "If I guess correctly, Yan family leader, you must not leave this mansion, right?" Yan's face changed greatly, and he turned to look at Yan Ziqiang at Shuyuan www.zhaoshuyuan.com, thinking that his third younger brother had violated his ancestral teachings and spread the secrets of his family. But considering the warning from ancestral teachings, this possibility was ruled out. After all, if the third brother had leaked a family secret, he would have been a dead person. Just as his mind was in turmoil, Yan Ziqiang grabbed his hand and said in a deep voice, "Big brother, I have something to say to you." As he spoke, he apologized to Chen Yuan and took Yan to the side hall to recount the journey. Yan listened on his own and remained silent for a long time with a solemn expression. "If we follow what my third brother said, even if we violate our ancestral teachings and disclose the secrets of our family to this immortal master of the Hu family, this immortal master of the Hu family has the ability to protect their lives. But the question is the ability of this Hu family immortal master really as strong as he claims? What if it can't be protected?" Yan Ziqiang saw his elder brother hesitating and said in a deep voice, "Big brother, don't worry, I brought back the immortal master of the Hu family. I can handle this matter." Yan shook his head and said, "I am the head of the family. No matter what, it's not your turn to speak about this matter. Besides, if something happens to you, how can I explain it to my siblings and nephews?" Yan Ziqiang said anxiously, "But big brother, can't you see through what's happening at home lately? That thing has gone crazy. Uncle 7 and Uncle 9 were killed when they were only a few years old. I'm afraid it'll be our turn in another month or two." Yan pursed his lips and pondered for a moment, saying, "Don't worry for now. Send a message to the city governor and call your second brother back. The two capable people he entrusted have also arrived." Let them see tomorrow first, maybe there are other ways to rescue him. After finishing these words, he added. If those two capable people can't solve it, let's seek help from Master Hu again. Chapter 9. The Arrival of Ghosts. You are listening at Novel Full. Audio. After discussing in the side hall, the Yen brothers came out to arrange a room for Chen Yuan to stay. Chen Yuan was not in a hurry either. It was already late afternoon and he missed the peak of yang energy. In front of the corridor in the wing room, Yen introduced two other capable people to Chen Yuan on his own. A person, a monk. The Taoist's Taoist name is Qinjiangzi, wearing a Bagua Taoist costume, with a goatee beard, and carrying a peach-wood sword behind him. He is humble and gentle. The monk's Dharma name is Juehui. He is dressed in a soap robe and is as strong as a cow. He has a large string of Buddha beads hanging on his chest and is quite enthusiastic. He took the initiative to talk to Chen Yuan Pan for a few words. After Yen introduced himself to the three people and met them, he said with a solemn expression. Today, I apologize for the inconvenience caused by the three of you staying in our humble abode. We will have breakfast delivered later. We apologize for any inconvenience this may cause. After speaking, he clasped his fists and saluted the three of them. Yen Jusher is polite. Benefactor, there's no need for that. Qinjiangzi and Juehui both spoke out in response, but only Chen Yuan calmly accepted Yan's own salute. Yen didn't care about Chen Yuan's seemingly arrogant behavior, and nodded slightly at the three before turning and leaving. Qinjiangzi glanced at Chen Yuan, his gaze inexplicable. After saying, "Infinite Heavenly Sovereign," to the two, he returned to the chamber to rest. And Juehui smiled at Chen Yuan and said. Benefactor Hu, with a pure heart and a calm attitude towards things, truly admirable to the poor monk. Chen Yuan was also interested in the practitioners of this world and did not refuse Juehui's initiative to talk. He sat on a chair in the corridor and smiled, saying, "Why not accept his gift when I save his whole family?" Juehui sat next to Chen Yuan and shook her head, sighing. That's true, but which cultivator of our generation is not plagued by worldly affairs and unable to escape from the mortal world? Look at Master Qinjiangzi, although the Taoist method is exquisite, he still needs gold and silver to repair the Taoist temple, and spiritual medicine to hang his only son's life. Cough. Qinjiangzi's mild cough spread from the side room, and Juehui clasped her hands together to plead guilty. I apologize for my poor words, Taoist. Seeing that Qinjiangzi did not continue to investigate, he continued. Looking at the poor monk again, he inherited the teachings of Master Xiling and was entrusted by him to promote the Buddhist teachings of Jingang Temple. However, in recent years, even if Jingang Temple is built, it may not continue due to various reasons and be forced to close. Speaking of which, he had a hint of helplessness towards the world on his face. The Yen family has power, and they promised to help the poor monk build the Diamond Temple and provide more protection afterwards. They entrusted the Yen family, but it was not as free and easy as the Hu donor. Master, if you have a difficult heart, don't violate the anger warning. Chen Yuan smiled and said, listening to Juehui being struck by lightning, beads of sweat rising from his forehead and his expression twisted. He remembered the years of hard work in building the Diamond Temple, but it was forced to close due to obstruction and deliberate framing by people. But the more he did this, the heavier his obsession with building the Diamond Temple became. It turned out that he had already violated the precepts of anger, almost like a demon in his heart. For a moment, Juehui let out a long sigh of relief, his expression gradually calmed down, and he clasped his hands together and said. The inheritance of the Diamond Temple belongs to me. I am here, and the Diamond Temple is there. It is a poor monk's appearance. After speaking, his mind was clear, and his true energy passed through the 9 towers, finally entering the innate realm. Thank you very much for your kind guidance, Master Hu. After the poor monk cleans up, I will come back to thank you, Master Hu. Juehui finished speaking with a happy expression on her face and hurriedly returned to the room to wash away the dirt on her body. At this moment, Qin Jiangzi opened the door and looked at Juehui's room with a complex expression, saying, "Master Juehui's return to heaven the day after tomorrow is commendable. Tomorrow, he will have even more confidence in dealing with the ghosts in the house." After finishing speaking, he nodded at Chen Yuan and returned to the room again. This Taoist will not be stimulated to the point where his Tao heart is unstable, will he? Chen Yuan chuckled inwardly. After a moment, when Juehui came to wash away the dirt, the great monk came up and saluted Chen Yuan. The kindness of enlightenment is difficult to repay, but whenever the benefactor who asks for it, Juehui will do his best. "Master, you're welcome." Chen Yuan responded with a smile and immediately asked about the so-called acquired and innate. Juehui reciprocated Chen Yuan's question with a very detailed answer. Returning to the natural world the day after tomorrow actually means entering the period of qi cultivation. Before this, practitioners in this world use true qi, giving them a feeling of entering the Tao with martial arts. Returning to the side room after fasting, Chen Yuan was quite interested in trying to find a sense of qi. Hu Tian, who was possessed by him, had a strong body and abundant qi and blood. Although he had not undergone systematic exercise, he barely reached the standard of condensing true qi. As Juehui said, sit in a posture with 5 hearts facing upwards, calm and concentrate, and search for the sense of qi born from the acceleration of qi and blood. Chen Yuan was originally a 2-tailed spirit fox, and upon closer inspection, it was just a common occurrence. In less than 10 breaths, he saw a faint qi emerging from his body. This qi is very weak, flowing through the meridians with the flow of qi and blood. However, most meridians are in a closed state, so there are not many places where this qi can travel. The 12 levels correspond to the 12 positive meridians. With each level passed, the qi becomes stronger. If the 8 extraordinary meridians are connected, it should correspond to the cultivator during the founding period, which is the realm of my 4 tails. It's a bit interesting, but unfortunately the old fox doesn't have a body refining technique, otherwise it could be a corresponding look. In speculation and summary, Chen Yuan suddenly opened his eyes and saw the phantom of a 2-tailed spirit fox on his body, with fox fire rising behind him. Who? The fox fire was raging in the wing room. The cloth beds and chairs were not burning, but a large amount of hair fell to the ground in the air, emitting a burnt smell. Ah! At this moment, a scream came from the adjacent room. Looking for the Shuyuan www.zhaoshuyuan.com, it was Qin Jiangzi who was the one who heard the sound. Chen Yuan stood up and walked out of the room, just as he heard Juehui's voice. King Kong subdues demons. Bang! The wooden door of the wing where Juehui lived shattered, and a large amount of hair flew out with strong palm power. Before it landed, these strands of hair turned into ghost energy and dissipated. Juehui stepped out of the wing room and saw Chen Yuan, who was unharmed, clasping his hands together and saying, "Amitabha Buddha, as long as benefactor who is safe and sound, but Master Qin Jiangzi." Chen Yuan nodded and kicked towards Qin Jiangzi's side room door. The door opened wide, only to see Qin Jiangzi wrapped in his own hair all over his body. Her 7 orifices pierced out with flesh and blood, her expression twisted and painful, and she was now speechless. Amitabha Buddha. Juehui recited the Buddhist name and sighed. The only son of Taoist Qin Jiangzi is suffering from a strange disease. These young Taoist Qin Jiangzi are searching for doctors and medicine everywhere. Now that Taoist Qin Jiangzi has passed away, his only son is probably. Chen Yuan remained silent and turned his head to the end of the corridor. But Yen hurried over on his own, followed by many members of his tribe who had a similar appearance to him. Approaching, Yen looked into the wing room on his own. After seeing Qin Jiangzi's tragic situation, he couldn't help but take 2 steps back with a pale face. The other members of the Yan family also exclaimed in surprise, and some timid people cried out directly. After a moment, Yan calmed down and said in a deep voice to Yan Ziqiang beside him. Send the Taoist priest back to the Taoist temple, take care of the affairs behind him, donate 500 taels of incense, and also send the 6 grass that was previously discussed with the Taoist priest to his son. Okay, big brother. Yan Ziqiang nodded in response and immediately called for his servants to come in and remove the body of Taoist Qinjiangzi. Chapter 10. Concubines. You are listening at novelfull.audio. After handling Qinjiangzi's body and dismissing his clan members, Yan approached Chen Yuan and Juehui on his own and said with a serious expression. Master Juehui, Master Hu Xianshi, what happened just now? We have had guests at home before, but we have never caused any fatalities like this one. Juehui clasped her hands together and said. Amitabha Buddha, just now when the poor monk was meditating and regulating his breath, he suddenly felt a yin energy approaching. If it weren't for tonight's guidance from Master Hu to break through to the innate realm, he would probably have been like Master Qinjiangzi. Yan instinctively glanced at Chen Yuan and immediately congratulated Juehui. Master Juehui has broken through his innate limitations, and his ancestors' presence in the heavenly spirit will surely bring peace of mind. Amitabha Buddha. Juehui pronounced the Buddhist name and said no more. Yan turned his gaze to Chen Yuan, his expression noticeably becoming more respectful. Being able to guide Juehui to break through his innate abilities, Master Hu Xian's abilities should be stronger than Juehui's. The most obvious point was that Juehui's wing door was broken. This proves that Juehui spent a lot of effort dealing with that thing just now, and finally broke the door to solve it. And Hu Xianqi's door was intact, proving that he didn't need much effort to solve that problem. Tell Master Hu Xian directly about the cause of the situation, maybe he can really protect my Yan family. For a moment, Yan wanted to reveal everything on his own. But at this moment, Yan Ziqiang, who had just finished handling Qinjiangzi's body, rushed over and said with a pale face. It's not good, big brother. Uncle 13's family has had an accident. Yan turned his head to look at his third younger brother and frowned, saying, a family. A family of 5, all dead. Yan Ziqiang nodded confidently in fear. Yan felt suffocated in his own breath, with a dizzying sensation that was spinning around, and he stumbled and almost fell. Previously, the Yan family had an accident, with a maximum of 1 person at a time, and there has never been a situation where several people died at the same time. How could it be like this? How could it be like this? He asked a few questions in surprise or anger, then supported the stone pillar in the corridor and said. Summon the clan members to the conference hall and see if there are any other people involved. Also, haven't your second brother returned yet? Just now, the second brother's messenger reported that he will come back after arranging the tasks in his hand, so he should be back soon. Okay, go gather the tribe members first. After the 2 brothers finished communicating, Yan Ziqiang quickly left, while Yan Ziqiang looked at Chen Yuan and Juehui with a bitter smile and said. Master Hu, Master Juehui, I'm afraid we'll have to trouble both of you tonight to take action. Juehui clasped his hands together and said, Amitabha Buddha, you don't need to be polite, Benefactor Yan. We are here for this. Chen Yuan nodded slightly and said, that ghost has suffered a lot from me and Master Juehui. Perhaps tonight it will kill you bloodthirsty creatures. Blood food. Yan Zizi gave a bitter smile and said, all the good fortune in this world must come at a cost. Let's talk about it as we walk. Upon hearing this, both Chen Yuan and Juehui knew that the other party was willing to reveal the origin of this haunted house. Sure enough, after being surrounded by Chen Yuan's left and right guards in the middle, Yan began to preach. The ghost at home is actually a concubine of my Yan family ancestor. It is said that this concubine is extremely beautiful, but her fate is not good and she has contracted a strange disease. Despite seeking medical help multiple times, her ancestors were unable to cure her. In the end, a wandering Taoist passed by and said that she was born with a rich ghost destiny. Illness cannot be cured, but after death, one can bless the family and make it increasingly prosperous. Her ancestors asked for her opinion and promised to allow her to enter the ancestral hall after her death. This was not allowed, but in order for her to agree, her ancestors still agreed to her idea. After receiving this promise, she agreed to the Taoists' approach. That night, the little concubine died and her spirit was moved into the ancestral hall. Those who have inherited the head of our Yan family for generations need to enter the house where the Taoist priest made it, take a strand of hair, and swallow it. Speaking of which, Yan's throat was a bit hoarse, as if something had been stuffed into it. Jiuehui realized something was wrong and turned to look at Yan Zizi, only to see that the other person had hair growing out of their ears, eyes, nostrils, and mouth. He was startled in his heart. Just as he was about to save someone, Chen Yuan had already patted Zhang Fulu on Yan Zizi. Illness. The talisman ignited a blue ghostly fire, instantly destroying the illusion on Yan Zizi's body. But at this time, Yan violated his ancestral teachings and spread the secrets of ghosts and things. The ghost energy continuously drew nutrients from his blood and gave birth to hair. Eliminating Yin symbols does not address the root cause and cannot solve Yan's own problems. It's a bit troublesome to give birth from one's bloodline. Chen Yuan frowned slightly and said to Jiuehui on the other side, "Master, please take care of me first." "Okay." Jiuehui responded and placed his big hand on Yan Zizi's head, reciting the Pavitra subduing the demon mantra. The strong true qi accompanied by the spell shook and dispersed the ghost qi in Yan's body, making it unable to form. Chen Yuan took out a wolf hair pen, black dog blood, and yellow paper. After a moment of contemplation, he drew Zhang Jianmao's Jianin Fu according to the talismanship recorded in the Daoyuan Shushu. This type of talisman cannot be used on living creatures, but Yan's own ghost energy comes from his blood vessels. If not suppressed, these ghost energies will drain his qi and blood. After finishing his pen and becoming a talisman, he directly patted Yan on his own back. Chen Yuan once again pinched the formula and drank softly, illness. In an instant, the ghostly aura on Yan's body was suppressed and he could no longer generate hair from within. In just about 10 short breaths, he lost a circle of weight and his face turned very pale. Yan, who was already preparing to die, took a deep breath and respectfully addressed the second person in court. "Thank you very much, Master. Master, you came to our rescue." Chen Yuan shook his head and said, "The source has not been eradicated yet, so we cannot rest assured. Master Yan, the head of the Yan family is suffering from both qi and blood deficiency. You can bear his burden." After speaking, he picked up his pen and continued to draw the Jianin Fu. "Good." Jiuehui responded and lifted the weak and powerless Yan on his own. A moment later, 3 people from zhaoshuyuan.com arrived at the conference hall, and at this time, the Yan family members also rushed one after another. The child who was awakened from sleep cried incessantly, causing the entire conference hall to be noisy. Yan Ziqiang was originally maintaining order and explaining the reason for the sudden gathering to his clan. When he saw Chen Yuan and the others coming over, he quickly approached and asked about Yan Ziqiang's situation. And other members of the Yan family saw the weakened head of the family, and some people gathered around, making the noise even louder. "Get out of the way." A high-profile shout sounded, and the noisy crowd suddenly became much quieter. Yi has returned. It's the voice of the second master. Make way quickly, second master has a bad temper. Yan Ziqiang, who stopped his clan members from surrounding and asking questions, breathed a sigh of relief and said, "Big brother, second brother is back." Yan nodded on his own and said, "That's good, Master Jiuehui. Could you please take me to the main seat?" "Okay." Jiuehui responded and placed Yan in the main seat of the conference hall. At this moment, the Yan family members also made way, and a man who was quite similar to Yan Zizi and Yan Ziqiang walked in. On the way, many members of the Yan family spoke out to greet Yi, but did not receive a response from the middle-aged man. "Big brother, third brother, thank you for your hard work." After the man came in, he greeted and turned to look at the many members of his tribe, shouting, "What's the noise? Can noise solve the problem?" The crowd was silent, and the entire conference hall was so quiet that only the sound of breathing and the sound of Chen Yuan's talismans remained. After scolding the tribe members, Yan Zijian sat next to Yan Zijian and respectfully said, "Big brother, please give me a lecture." Yan shook his head and said, "Well, the situation is urgent now. Don't worry about so much. Third, please count the number of people."